Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Planning Traffic. We do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and we do it live for you, the audience that loves cars. We got special guests on tonight. I know you've been seeing them in the news, Northeast Ohio Dukes. They're jumping over houses and ponds and trees and everything else. So we got them in the house, Ray and Tyler. We got my man Motor Mouth Radio, Ray.
That's me.
And I find it funny we're on Playing in Traffic, and that's what we were doing on Saturday, right?
Yeah,
Tyler,
right.
we were playing in traffic.
Yep.
Playing in traffic. All right, so let me so you guys have been on fire all week since you made the jump. You made the jump when? Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday at 7 p.m.
And I've been seeing people posting your jump from their cameras and from their Facebooks all over the place. Every time I go on, I see 3 or 4 of your posts coming up. It's incredible that how much press you've gotten.
Yeah, it's crazy when you get a text and your phone says Glenn Beck. And Raymond, I watched the jump. I'd like to have you on my show. I was like, what? This has to be some sort of prank. But it wasn't. It wasn't a prank.
Right. Yeah. And so Sunday morning, it was like a slow fire. So Saturday night, Sunday morning, we knew a lot of places had shared it, news stuff, but it wasn't really taking off a lot. And then we got in the cars to come home, and we had like a 9-hour trip to get home. Mm-hmm. And by the time we were home, man, it was everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
We had 8 hours, and when we got home, we were like, oh my God.
Yep.
Fox and Friends, The Five, Good Morning America, ABC, World News, CBS, the New York Post. I mean, search for Generally Fountain Jump through Google, hit the little news thing, and it is a mile long of how many people have did stories on us.
Yep.
Coast to coast, all over the world, Sydney, Australia, all through Europe. Unbelievable.
That's great. Okay, so tell everybody on the internet here where you went and what you actually did for the jump.
Good.
So about 8 months ago, we got contacted by Summer Nights Cruise. They host a car cruise in Somerset, Kentucky. And this is like a monthly summertime car cruise that they host. And they reached out to Ray, and they said, we want you to come down and do a jump. It's the 25th anniversary of our car cruise, and we want to do something really special. They sent him the address. They sent him some pictures, I think, too, of the location. And they said, we want you to jump, this way on this street and land over here. And Ray was looking at it. He was looking at the satellite imagery. He went down to the street view, and he said, there's a fountain in the way.
Yeah, I said, well, I guess I would be jumping from north to south because east to west, there's a fountain in the way. And Keith was like, yeah, we were hoping that you would want to jump over that for us.
So
I was like, let's do it.
Yeah. So we ended up doing it. We went down for a first look in like February and got kind of a game plan. And then we got there last Saturday, June 28th. And we jumped the fountain. We jumped the fountain with the General Lee for the first time ever. Hollywood, real life, ever.
That's sweet. I'm gonna pull out the picture again so people can see it.
I'm happy to see that my hometown paper, the New York Post, covered it, but they did make an error, I think.
What was the error?
Because under the picture of the car with the splash under it, it says the car leaps about 150 feet into the air, splashing through the fountain. And I don't think you went that high. I think you went 150 feet.
Yeah, I'm like up there,
Yeah.
So this picture here is incredible that the water is hitting it like that. I mean,
right.
So
Tyler, is that your picture?
That is my picture. Yeah.
They use like the next frame where the splash is directly under the center of the car, and the water is coming up over the windshield and roof.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why this happened is because we drove this car in the wintertime and there was a bunch of salt and stuff underneath it. So we were like, let's Let's clean this baby up under here.
You know what? We do that out here all the time.
I told Ray we should have got sponsored by Gatorade.
Yeah. So Ray, this was your 30th jump?
30th generally jump, but remember we jumped the Bandit car at Carlisle back in 2019. So 31 jumps altogether, 30 generally jumps, and jump 20. We celebrated our 20th generally jump by jumping at the Detroit Autorama. So it's like every 10 years, there's got to be a huge, jump. And this was it. I think this here, what we did for the Summer Nights cruise is I'm telling you, we knocked it out of the park. This tops anything that we've ever did combined, probably.
Any way you slice it. I mean, publicity wise, attendance wise, media attention. And I was talking to Matt earlier. We recorded an interview, and the attention this time feels different. Last time we were in the news big time was for Detroit.
Right.
And the flag controversy was hot. Right.
Yeah.
And it just felt like every news story was like, yeah, these rednecks jumped this General Lee, and it's the General Lee with a flag on it.
We're not the stereotypical.
No.
But here's the thing. It seemed like every time that we went to do a big generally a big publicity generally jump, something had happened. And so Monday before we left for Detroit for the General Lee jump, splashed all over MSNBC News, somebody had murdered the leader of the KKK.
Yeah.
And what picture did they use for that? They used the General Lee.
Great publicity.
And I called Cooter and his wife Alma, and I said, "Are you kidding me?" And Miss Alma was like, "We're trying to get that removed because you know what? Listen, you can't take the fact away that people have hijacked the flag and they use it as a symbol of hate. But guess what? We're against that too. We are against that too. And I'll be the first one to stand in front of a person of color and fight for them if somebody's trying to hurt them with the flag, because I don't play with that.
You know what? I can't tell you a black person I've ever talked to that didn't like the General Lee.
Exactly. And when we were in Chicago, Lewis, when we were in Chicago, we had probably 250 paying customers that were black. They paid $10 a piece to get their picture inside of the General Lee. One of the guys, remember, he had the big long gray beard and stuff. He was the black Uncle Jesse.
Well, you remember when we were going to after Detroit, we were coming home and we stopped at that gas station, and I would have to say 9 out of 10 people that wanted a photo with the car, they were all of darker skin.
So when we pulled into the Cobo Center with the jump car,
that's right.
Okay, the first person to run up to the car and said, "Hey man, can you guys get my picture with the General Lee?" was a black guy, right? And I told Pat, I said, "Pat, take a picture of him taking a picture of him. That way we could show people, see, it's the media that wants everyone to fight."
I was going to say that.
They'll tell you, set that picture up. That was, this
paid actor.
Well, that's what I was going to say. In this political climate that we're all seeing, we see what goes on. We all see it. When the other side doesn't like what the other side is doing, they just make shit up.
I tell you one thing, and this is factual. If everybody acted like Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard, this world would be a better place for us all.
Yep. I'll go you one better. Playing in traffic, the collection of people we have here. If people just acted more like us, and I'm not talking about myself specifically, just all of us.
The group.
The group.
Yep.
And this is like the real boots on the ground. I mean, all my friends would fit in here.
So I'd like to show you this picture here. Now, my mom came down to the jump, okay, and listen, I'm her son, and I'm putting myself in a life and death situation on purpose for people's entertainment.
I don't know if your mom's anything like my mom, but she wasn't a big fan of me
Yeah.
doing stunts.
I know your dad is though.
Yeah.
Your dad is. So take a look at this picture. This woman seen my mother crying, and she wanted to console my mother. Right.
Yeah.
So there she is. You see what color she is, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then she embraces my mother. You can barely see my mother because she's wrapped up in her arms.
Great.
And there they are. There they are.
Yep.
That's what the Dukes of Hazzard is about. And it's always been about helping your neighbor and bringing people together.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Another thing that's really been in the news has been Mike Kolovich's death-defying leap to get out of the way of the car.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, he was close.
Now, to the general public, yeah, it was real, and it was dangerous and stuff like that. But they don't know that Mike put himself there for a reason. Okay, just like all the people in NASCAR, all the camera people, and whatnot. There was a bailout zone there for him, and he chose that because he's like, okay, if Raymond comes toward me, this is my escape. They all do that. They all know to do that. They're not just recklessly going to put themselves in harm's way without a bailout zone. They know the risk. Mike is one of our veteran filmographers, and he chose that for that reason because there was a bailout zone.
Yeah, I actually have a little clip, a sneak peek, if you will, of some of the interviews we're doing. Do you want me to play it, Lewis?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me click.
Tyler, I'm impressed. You wear many, dude. Stunt driver, show coordinator, track boss. Look at all this, man.
Yeah.
Tyler can take all of our jobs. You kidding me?
I'm telling you.
Hey, don't get his head too big now.
I've always said he's a quiet fuse that just needs to be lit.
Yeah.
All right, is it up?
Let's see. No. Wait a minute.
Did it come up?
No.
You have to approve it.
I don't see it. Wait a minute. Oh wait, this is it. There we go.
There we go. Okay, cool. So this is only a minute long. I'm just gonna play it through, and then I want your guys' reaction. Play. Come on, you can do it. Hide. There we go. Here we go.
Woo. Ray, how far was that?
About 120, you said, Ty? So you can see me turning right, trying to get that.
All right, here's a good view. Wow. Seconds.
Yeah, I was close.
That's awesome, Tyler.
That's great,
Dude,
man.
This is great.
So that was just a snippet of some of the interviews we've been doing. So
All right, so
those will be
tell everybody where they can see that.
those will be going live on our YouTube channel, Northeast Ohio Dukes, and some snippets like that, little short clips, will be going up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all over the place.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 18 years. We got a lot to talk about, and we have like 150,000 fans just on Facebook alone. And, people want to know. They want to know the origin of the Northeast Ohio Dukes, and they want to know how we became what we are today.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? Tyler and Mikey, they are my two other stunt guys. They do the rollovers. Tyler does the bad guy stunt that you see the black Crown Vic hit the turnover ramp at 45 miles an hour and twirling in the air. And Mikey does the cop car. But when Mikey can't do the cop car, we throw Tyler in there. So Tyler's done both.
Yep. Lewis was there.
Yeah,
Remember?
Lewis was there. You were there, Lewis. You got to witness it.
And it's a whole different feeling from video and live. Believe me.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. We have people in our crew that were fans of our stunt shows, and they just sat out there with the spectators and, oh yeah, that was great, that was awesome, but they start visiting the shop, we become friends, and then I can help sand that fender, and I can bolt this in there. Next thing you know, they're indoctrinated into the crew.
Indoctrinated has negative connotations.
Indoctrinated or
Inducted.
They are inducted. Okay.
Captured.
Yeah.
All right, they're captured. All right. So anyway, so they're a part of the crew now, and here they come the first time to our show as a crew member, and they're scared to death and they're in tears because now there's a relationship established to where they care about us, and there's feelings and there's emotions. And in one of the podcasts that we're going to do, it's going to have two of the new guys, Jason Romano and Jim Eberly. They're going to be sitting here and they're going to be talking about their experiences as the new guys.
And that'll be the full Monty, right? Because they helped us with a live stunt show, the full show, and they
single
went
jumps
and the single jump. They went to the fountain with us.
So now that you said that, my wife had that happen because she was with me when we seen you jump, and her emotions were really, caught up. She's like, man,
I know
on the
these
way home,
guys.
she's like, man, I'm so worried about them.
We're not going to have dinner with Tyler anymore.
Yeah, that it really drives it home when someone you barely know that we met in Canada comes down to Ohio for the Mopar Nationals stunts. And I'm specifically talking about Raven. You've met her. She's been on your show. She was in tears after my turnover. Even though, we have a great track record of safety. We've never had a serious debilitating injury. And she was just beside herself with emotion, right? I barely know her, spent less than an hour with her all told in her entire life. And just that little bit of connection was enough to make her deeply concerned. And I remember I was getting all the backslap hugs and stuff. And I just turned and I seen her, and she was like 25 feet away, and she was like wringing her hands and didn't know what to do. And I seen her, she was distraught. And I opened my arms and she just came running and gave me a huge hug. So it's different. It's very different as a person involved in the process. And I think what happens is you hear us talking about the safety equipment, and you have to plan for the bad, right? You don't plan for failure, but you plan when things go south. And when you start talking about, we cannot do things if there's not fire trucks, EMS, rescue services, someone to flip the car over with a piece of equipment, right? Like a Bobcat or something. Start talking about where's the nearest hospital. You go through all this stuff, and you're checking boxes. It says
Lewis checked the Facebook comments.
Oh yeah, Jim said.
So we had a full theatrical stunt show 3 weeks ago, and I had a hard landing, and I recently lost a lot of weight because I had this brain tumor that was causing me to gain weight. So I lost the weight after the surgery, and so Pat was like, Pat Lewis, he was like, dude, have you tried your jump vest on? And my jump vest is the most important safety equipment that I have, because it holds me up off of the seat with bungee cords. And I put it on, and oh my gosh, it won't fit. It's way too big. So we went and had it altered, and they made it too small. But now it's too late to do anything about it. And when they were putting me in the jump vest in Maryland, it felt like I was being held up by my rib cage underneath my ribs. And that's, a couple 100 pounds just on your ribs. And when I landed flat, the paramedics, they thought that I broke a couple ribs. Well, into the meat wagon I went. They took me to the hospital. They did a CAT scan, and nothing was broke. But I had a bruised chest. I I have a bruised chest wall and multiple contusions through the left side of my rib cage.
So basically, the connective tissues between his ribs got bruised.
Bad to where if I sneezed, it was like I jumped all over again. Well, the boys wouldn't let me do anything because I couldn't take a risk of re-injuring myself or irritating the injuries. So we had a lot of still like little things to do on the fountain jump car. How do I do this? How do I do this? You know how I do this? Because I have a loyal crew that loves what we do. Tyler, Bender, Pat, Jim, Mikey, Rob, everybody came out. Chris Roy from Texas, Canada. Yeah,
Completely opposite.
Okay, I had brain surgery, remember. So that's my excuse. I tell everybody that's my excuse.
He's special now.
So anyway, you know, we got everything done and stuff like that. So I did this fountain jump being injured, and I was being held up by that rib cage, but in the right areas. And I can't believe I was able to do. I had so much adrenaline pumping through my veins. I didn't feel anything.
Mosquitoes. We live in a swamp.
We were dealing with mosquitoes here. We had a lot of rain, and Thanks
for having us out, Mike. The comments on the screen there. We love doing what we do. It's we wish we could do it more, right? It's tough getting booked.
I have a feeling that we're going to be doing
it might be a problem with the past.
Huh?
It might be a problem with the past, having trouble getting booked.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, you're right. But anyway, I have a feeling that we're going to be back in Somerset, and let's let this word out. In a couple years, we can come back and do it all over again. It's probably going to be the new Dukes Fest site.
Yeah,
because that place actually has that Hazzard County feeling.
It does. Small town.
It really does. And you know what makes it special is when you have our team, and we work with the Summer Night Cruise people, Keith and his people, when we can work as one alongside of the town and the committees and stuff like that, all the safety people, law enforcement, we all work together as one, and look at the magic that happened because of it.
Oh yeah.
And
Summer Night's crew was top 3 easily, maybe the best we've ever worked with. Right up.
I tell you what, Joe Savio from the Radical Speed Sport. I talked to Joe. I said, Joe, you know, because he knows the problems that we had, you know, and I was like, they were really good, just like how
those were our Canadian hosts,
right?
Radical Speed
so
Sport.
You guys got to understand the huge undertaking that Keith Floyd went through to make this happen. So you have a center of town, right? And there are roads coming in. Well, guess what?
State routes.
State route. The state owned some of the road. The county owned some of the road, and the town of Somerset. So you have to get approval from the state, the county, and the town, and then it has to be stamped by the judges. You know, and we met the judge when we went there to announce,
and the mayor,
and the mayor. You know, and one of the council members, I believe, they were dressed up as Boss Hog, walking around with a cigar. You know, they had a Cadillac there, and they really played the part of Hazzard County.
It was awesome.
And
you know, I was in Missouri, and I was buying a trailer off a guy, so I was messing around in Missouri, and the deal fell through. So I was going to try to jump over there to see you guys jump, but it was Saturday morning. I couldn't make it over there. So
yeah, you know, before the jump, the heat and my nerves, I was in misery too. My daughter Tiffany, she's like, dad jokes. Yes, please bring the Dukes Fest to Somerset. We want this. Bring it. Yeah, we would like to, Mike. Yep.
Yeah, we would love to. So everybody that lives in Somerset and wants us to come back and wants to turn it into a Dukes Fest every summer or whatever, make sure you let your local folks know.
Yeah, you know there was a mistake
Town
because
council.
For some reason somebody had told me, the historic fountain, and so they said it was erected like in 1889. So I thought, you know,
yeah, it was actually like 1910 or
yeah,
still over 100 years ago.
Yeah, but this one, I guess they redid it in 2012.
Oh,
2012.
Oh,
Well, it's historic now. I'll tell you that.
it's
If it
definitely
wasn't then, it is now.
we single-handedly made Somerset, Kentucky, the most famous city in Kentucky.
Now, let me ask you this, Tyler. I've seen pictures and memes and stuff of plastic bags with the blue water.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that was down there getting water out of the fountain. The blue is that, I mean,
listen, I think we deserve a commission on that
We
because
do.
we touched it first.
we do.
So what was your reaction, Motormouth?
You know, I saw it online. I was down in North and South Carolina all week. I actually was in striking distance of where you were, I guess. And yeah, when I first saw it, I actually met with one of the guys, one of the older stunt guys that you know that was involved with Duke stuff. So
Tommy Sermano?
yeah, and I wasn't aware that you guys were doing that at the time. So I did see it on social media, and I was kind of confused, like, wait a minute, what am I seeing? Because I hadn't heard about it. And when I saw that angle at the end, I was like, holy shit, let me see that again. And then I was just so happy. I figured I would catch up with Lewis and we would talk with you guys. I didn't know he scheduled you for this week. So yeah, great effort, great work, phenomenal.
Thank you. It was a lot of work, a huge undertaking. The insurance paperwork that I had to fill out, it was just unbelievable.
So
I did have to go to the doctor though after the jump. I wanted to let everybody know I had this really bad cramp in my hand from giving all those autographs. I just
So let me ask you this, Ray: is the high insurance so that if you kill yourself, you can't sue them? I mean,
no.
The
insurance only pays out $5 for him.
Yeah. It's spectator insurance and property damage.
I got you.
And another thing is, after the jump, I had went up to where the fountain was. That's where they were bringing the jump car, and there was like 3 or 4 police officers standing there, and they were looking at me, and I'm all like sweaty and beat up and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey guys, I wanted to admit to you, and I hope I don't get a ticket, but when I was on my way to the ramp, I blew through that light there.
So speaking of the lights, that it's a state route road. So they weren't actually allowed to close it until 6 a.m. The day of the jump. So we had to get there at 6:30 to start setting up our ramp, make sure everything was good to go, and start placing the Jersey barriers on the road for the landing area and whatnot. And by 8 o'clock, people were starting to file into town.
Yeah, and you guys got to understand that I'm sort of like I had a hard landing, Lewis, and you know this. You were there at the Mopar Nats. I hit the ramp at 72 miles an hour, Tyler.
I think so.
72, and I was over 30 feet high, and I landed on all 4 wheels at once, landed flat at 217 feet. We own the record for the longest generally in front of a live audience. And that hurt a lot. And to get back in the car and do that, I wasn't hesitant, but I guess battle fatigue, fatigue.
Yeah. It's similar. Brain surgery. It's similar to like PTSD, right? You the last time you did this, you got busted up bad, so it's the jump back on the horse mentality, right?
Right. And here's another thing, to mentally prepare myself as I'm driving home from the shop. I'm imagining I'm in the General and I see that ramp in front of me, and I would boom hit it, and I would complete the jump in my head. These were all in the past, but since the Mopar Nats, I see myself going to the ramp, and I'm like that. And I'm like, that's when I knew that I had to get past this somehow. So the nights leading up to the jump, like for a whole week, waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, by 5 o'clock, I'm completely up. I can't sleep, and I can't do anything because I'm all busted up from the Maryland jump. What do I do? And Tyler and Rob and Pat and Mikey, everybody, they're like, stay at the hotel.
I told him he wasn't allowed to come down.
I wasn't allowed. Tyler, he wouldn't let me come down. And
He cheated. He showed up at 11:15.
I did because I woke up at 5 o'clock. I couldn't. I kept wondering if you guys were okay. This guy, I'm gonna.
That's great.
So the day of the show, whether it's our full stunt show or a single jump, there was a need in the team years ago for a single voice of authority, and I never asked. I never really said I was doing it, but I kind of just stepped up, filled those shoes that were vacant, and ever since then, I have on jump day, I kind of turn into a drill sergeant. I get a little bit monstrous, I guess. It really struck home when we're sitting there Sunday morning having breakfast, and Jim, in a joking and positive way, but he said, I've never seen 10 police officers, 15 firefighters, 10 EMS, and 15 car show personnel all intimidated into paying strict attention to a safety talk as I was going through everything that was going to go down.
Tyler is one of the leaders in our group. He really is. He's I don't know what I'd do without him. You know, the jump probably would not happen without Tyler.
I think
He's all grown up.
it's the haircut, definitely. Well,
It is.
You know, but you know, hey, give credit when credit's due, and everyone has to understand that we are raised by different people from different time periods, from different backgrounds, and we're all at the shop. We're all not going to get along all of the time. We're just, I mean, that's just the way things are. But let me tell you, we are all wanting to achieve the same goal, and we work hard for it. And every one of us on jump day knows their duties and responsibilities.
Yep.
I had 3 flat landings since it started in Canada. We call it the Canada curse, where you land flat. Canada, land flat. Montparnasse, land flat. The Maryland show, land flat, 3 in a row. So the Canada curse was ended in Somerset, and here we go. We had our Canadian crew member, Chris Roy, waving the green flag. So we ended the curse, the Canadian curse, with the Canadian.
Yeah, the Canadian ended the Canadian curse. And so so during the jump,
Stephanie, I really appreciate it. Listen, you guys, you the fans, because we're fans of the Dukes of Hazzard too. But you know what? We wouldn't be here.
Y'all are the ones that make it possible.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if you guys didn't care. So you are welcome, and thank you for having us.
So during the jump, I give the all clear for the landing zone. The landing zone's clear. I look up at his bailout around the left side of the fountain from his perspective, and it's clear. And I said, we're go, green light. And then Chuck, I had stationed with one of our drone pilots, CJ FPV, amazing guy to work with. And he flew his FPV drone up the runway, hovered right in front of Ray so that Bender and Ray would know that we're all set. CJ's in the air.
We're going to show a clip of that?
I didn't prepare a clip of that.
I can show it from my phone, just a snippet.
Snippet. Just the middle part.
All right. So, this is just
we've been sitting on this footage.
Yeah, and I'll hold it back far just so
nobody's screen capturing that.
Right.
See that shot?
Oh, that's the drone. Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna be dropping that nugget real soon. But he flew up and he gave Ray the signal, and
that was awesome, by the way.
That was sweet.
Yeah, it reminded me of that movie in the late 80s called Batteries Not Included, where the little flying guys, they came up and it's like, okay, he's here.
Yeah. So when I'm down mid-track, I'm right adjacent to where he's going to land. I can't hear his car. I never heard it start. I never heard you get on it. The crowd was so loud, I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, wow.
All I knew was I could see the opening between 2 buildings where the police officers were keeping the crowd back behind barriers.
And when I started, I read the hell out of the engine.
I know that now because I watched the videos. But all I see is the cops like inching further apart, and I'm like, oh, he must be on his way. So I get my camera and I'm ready to focus because I don't have focus set or anything. So as soon as I see his bumper, I start focusing, start snapping my series of photos. and I got that photo that you had for the background.
Epic
of the,
pictures,
of the,
I'm telling you,
at the
epic.
beginning, and then I capture it all the way through his landing, and car starts to slide down the hill, kind of out of my sight a little bit, and I get around the corner to where I can see the car, and Chris is already waving that green flag. I knew in the back of my mind, as soon as I seen him land nose down, I was saying to myself, "Oh, that's a good landing. It's a good landing."
What did I say when I landed?
And we'll get to that. Okay. So I seen the green flag waving, and I fell to my knees in the street. I did a huge fist pump, and I said, "Yeah,
I
good landing."
want a video.
There's got to
be a
video of me out there somewhere doing that. But that, I think, I inadvertently started the stampede of people because it was very shortly after that. Just the people started. They tore the barriers down. We only had 8 police officers. There was no way they were stopping 40,000 people.
Yeah.
They tore the barriers down. They rushed the landing
zone. That
actually
resulted in your GoPro getting stolen.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Well,
real quick? They stole our GoPro.
You wanted to talk about your words.
My words.
What do you say?
Oh,
what have you always said? Except for the Canadian curse jumps.
Yeah, the 3 jumps, my daughter was like, "Dad, you don't say it anymore." I'm like, "What do you mean? When you land generally, you don't say it anymore." I'm like, "Say what?" She was like, "That you want to do it again." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't say that anymore." Well, guess what, boys? I said it. I said I want to do it again.
Mikey runs up to the car and he goes, "Ray, are you okay?" And Ray says, "I want to do it again."
I got a clip.
You got a clip?
Yep, I can show you guys that.
Yeah, we got another clip
here.
All right, then we're gonna get the fellas in.
Yeah, we got to get the boys in here before everyone goes to bed.
Yeah, then get you some questions in.
Oh yeah, I know. Paul, he happened to call me Friday to ask just a random question about. I can't remember if it was about LS's or if it was about the stunt team, but I said, "Yeah, we're down here setting up for jumping over a fountain." And he was like, "Oh, that would be really cool." And then he called me back on Sunday. He's like, "That was amazing."
All right, here's the clip. This is right after I landed and I came to a stop and I start pulling my releases.
You're looking like you went to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's great.
Can you guys talk about how the car is set up mechanically, engine-wise, drivetrain-wise, or is that like?
It's just got the original 4.6 liter engine in it. They're around like a 2001, 2099 Mercury Grand Marquis. Ford Crown Vic. It's just easier to say, but we never used the Ford Crown Vic for a jump car. They've always been Grand Marquis. But anyway, factory brakes, factory engine, transmission. We cut all of the panels off of the car and we make mounts. Tyler made a jig this year. That way we don't have to do any measuring anymore.
The hardest part was setting the quarter panels where they need to be. It was like a 5-person process. I made a jig to put them exactly where they need to be. And now it took 2 of us, right?
2 of us.
It was you and me, and we had them on in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It was 5 guys all day down to 40 minutes.
Yeah,
2 guys.
We do some special things for the rear end because the thin coil springs that they have from the factory. We use a compression ramp, like it's patterned off after Tommy Cimeno's ramp, and compression ramp. That means you hit it at a high rate of speed, and the car compresses against the ramp, and then it decompresses, and then you go up, and you get to your apex.
It's funny. I had one of the guys, I think it was one of the fire. Oh, it was the fire chief. He said, "Man, that angle of that ramp sitting there, your guys are going to get hardly any air." And I said, "It's a compression ramp, so the car springs off the ramp instead of following the angle." And he's like, he was like kind of skeptical. And then he came up to me afterwards and he's like, "Holy crap."
I love hearing these stories. I love the doubters. And then after it all happens, they're like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. Oh man.
You guys are cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's so many people are like, they doubt where they're like, "Oh, there's no way he's going to land right there." I was 4 feet off from where you landed.
Are you serious?
4 feet.
4 feet off.
Well,
yeah. Let's talk about this real quick because of what we do. I've gained some attention from the Hollywood boys. a lot of the legendary stunt drivers that were on the Dukes, they're my buddies now, right? So it was we did all of our measurements and stuff like that, and we were like 45. Should we go 50? It's got to be somewhere in between there.
I was thinking 45, no greater than 50.
So I called Ted Barba, and he's a Hollywood stuntman. Ted is a great guy, and he was like, Ray, just do the 50. You know, you got to think I had a small zone to land into because of all the people down at the end of the street. I had to land right on the street, you know, after the fountain, you know, that went north and south. So that being said, you got to think, you know, hitting the ramp, a giant wedge, you're going to scrub off a good 15 miles an hour, probably hitting that ramp. So we went for the 50, and it was phenomenal. Corey Eubanks, legendary Hollywood stuntman, the son of Bob Eubanks from the Newlywed Game.
Mhm.
He got his career started on the Dukes of Hazzard, and he did all the Fast and Furious movies, all the Transformer movies. He's Sylvester Stallone's stunt double. He's the one that jumped the old Mercury out of the parking garage on Cobra, and then rolled it into that big old wooden boat. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So
He did the bus rollover in Fast 4, Fast 5.
He did that prison bus rollover in
Yeah.
Fast 5. Yeah, so you know what? Listen, these guys have taken a liking to me, and it means everything.
They have a nickname for you in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's right. They do have a nickname for me in Hollywood.
They call him Big Air Ray.
That's right. That is Motor Mouth Ray, and I'm Big Air Ray.
Yeah. Oh, I should. You know what?
Lewis, change my name.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't.
Change it.
No, you don't. Change it.
All right, let's get the fellas in so they can ask
Let's
you
get
guys
the boys in.
questions.
Howdy, Jim. Howdy, Keith.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, coach is here. No class is here. Brian.
Hey, guys.
The whole house.
Before we get too deep, I just want to tell you, today on the tool truck, I was telling everybody to watch, and what was going on, and saying, my buddies were that jumped the General Lee, and they were like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then I had one guy, he was upset because he goes, man, I wish these guys would stop destroying Chargers.
Yeah.
And I said, dude,
That's your fault.
it's a Crown Vic. So he brings the video up and he goes, I thought you knew about cars, but there's no way that's a Crown Vic.
Ooh.
And I'm like, how stupid do you have to be, dude? They reskin the car.
Right.
And he was even more amazed that you took a Crown Vic and put those skin on. So it's so funny. And of course, then you go back and you read all your comments about how you killed all these Chargers, So, but
in the past, we used to use Chargers. We did 22 jumps with 15 Chargers. But
I just think it's funny that
these were ship boxes
understand.
that no title, no VIN, no floors, no engine tranny. Someone cut the roof off. These were the cars that were left for dead that were picked over.
And we used to get them for $800.
400 bucks. A couple of them were given to us.
Now cars like that are 10 grand.
10, 15, 18 grand. Yeah.
And that is mostly due in part to our major sponsor, Automotive Direct.
Mhm.
They make all of the panels now, right? That wasn't the case 10 years ago.
So you guys got to understand, if it wasn't for Automotive Direct, Jason and Eddie and Mike Gray, the jump wouldn't have happened without them.
No.
Yeah, no, because every 100% of the car is AMD. And,
any Charger part you see comes from AMD.
Yeah. I mean, we have a great relationship, with Automotive Direct.
Yep.
Brian, you got to tell me to start jumping the Mustang.
we would love to do a bullet jump.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Love it.
That would be interesting.
A big one, and then at the end we crash into a bunch of fake gas pumps, and our pyro guy Johnny can blow it all up. We're gonna blow it up,
Yeah.
Well, if you're not on fire, it's no good. So light it up,
Where'd
That's right.
Paul go? I know Paul wanted to ask some questions.
I thought Terry was going to be on with us. I asked him today. He said, "Yeah, I'll be on there."
Yeah, Terry's like a cat. He does his own thing, and you just kind of accept it.
Yeah.
How about you, Coach?
I have a question. Yeah. So I saw that interview you did, and you were talking about if you get the opportunity to jump in front of the White House and to do the Charger with the American flag and everything on it. Are you going to name it the General Grant?
Okay, so first off, this has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat. We
Confederate or Union.
we keep out of the politics. You know, if this was happening during President Biden's presidency, we'd call it the riding for Biden. You know, for this one, Trump is our president. It'd be the jump for Trump. Okay, and it would be
that way. I think
it would. Yeah, it would be. I agree. You know, but it would be an American. It would be an American themed car. Now look at this. I'll show you.
He actually has a rendering.
Yeah.
He's thought about this a lot.
Yeah, I did. Let's see here. I can't even find the picture. Keep talking, Tyler. Where I look for.
So, Tyler,
pick up the slack.
Where can people buy those fancy shirts you got on?
So we sold out completely of this shirt. All the ones we took down with us were completely sold out. People were there with money and they're like, we want shirts. So as soon as we got home, we set up a pre-order for the next round of shirts. It is on our website, northeastohiodukes.net or .com. And you can go on there. You can pre-order your shirt. I believe we already have like 400 and some pre-orders. It's crazy. The popularity of the shirt is absolutely wild. There's also posters with my actual photo. You can see right here in the background. Lean over, Ray. Lean over. Yeah. That poster is available for purchase as well. And we're probably going to do, in a month or so, we're going to do a second design of the shirt.
Right.
With the actual photo on it.
I found the picture of the jump for Trump.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. 47. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yep.
It's going to be huge.
The only cooler jump that could, the only cooler thing that could possibly be on the side would be 1776.
Right. Yeah.
1776 on the side.
Yep. You need to have Derek Bieri ride with you then.
Derek, yeah.
It would be a great 4th of July jump.
If 4th of July next year on the 250th anniversary.
Yes.
We need to make that happen.
I'm going to, Glenn Beck, he sent us another message today. He said he's going to talk to President Trump about this.
Yeah.
He said if any president would do it, it would be Trump.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
We should do it in Virginia.
Where
was the capital? It wasn't in DC.
Yeah, the first one. The first one was in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, New York.
New York?
Well, it got burnt down to the ground.
1776?
I'm not sure of the year, but it was originally New York, then it moved to Virginia.
Yeah, my history's off.
During the war, 1812, when they were burning D.C., it was in Brookville, where I used to live in Maryland. It was in Brookville, Maryland.
Okay.
Well, there's options.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no fountain in there to jump.
I say do it in front of the White House.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Avenue. You got it.
Yep. We probably wouldn't be allowed to do our pyro there either.
We could jump
jump over Marine One.
Marine One. They're gonna jump over Marine One
with the blade spinning.
It's gonna be huge. We're gonna love it.
With the blade spinning.
With the blade spinning. We're gonna chop Raymond up into little bits of meat.
Keith, you got anything?
No.
No questions? No.
How about doing it for the grand opening of the Alcatraz, the alligator Alcatraz?
We're gonna jump over. That's what Tyler. Because there's people in Australia that want us to do this, and he's like, "What would we jump over?" And I was like a crocodile pit or something, you know.
Yeah, I said we should jump in front of the Sydney Opera House.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah, we can't believe that.
Had to go over there for something?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think they ever left the country.
No,
they were on probation. They couldn't even go to the next county.
Right, they had to get permission from Boston. Yeah, we just can't believe that this has happened to us. You know, we've been doing this for 18 years, and I think if you add up all of our stunts that we've all done combined, you're looking between 150 and 170 death-defying stunts, and we've done it so safe that we're all still here, and we're going to keep doing it. Yeah.
Please do. So cool to have the White House in the background. I can already put the Dukes in an episode.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we would love that. Would be so cool.
Yeah, the fans have been great. The media coverage has been insane. We try to chip away at it, all the messages on a daily basis.
Dude, there's 4 of us on our email account, and every time I look, there's unanswered stuff.
You can't keep up with it. It's just a constant barrage of questions and stuff. We got people wanting us to jump in California. Today I get one, would you be able to go to China? Because he owns a nail salon here in the States, and the brother has a good business over in China.
I don't think we got. Would they let us come back?
As long as we don't get the Kung Flu.
The Kung Flu. COVID 2.0.
All right, so
hopefully,
all right.
Hear me before.
Yeah, you're pretty faint, Paul.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I don't know how to raise the volume up or anything.
Okay. I know you got questions though.
Yes, sir, I do. And they've already been brought to light. Jump for Trump. Yes, I am 100% supportive of whatever you guys want to try to pull off. I have connections in DC. Not
that's why you
does, but I do have connections, and so does Brian around the DC area. Please, anything I can do to help out with doing something in DC, or jump in the reflecting pool. I don't think you'd ever get away with getting it done on park.
Man. Yeah, I doubt it. But you know what? Paul called me on Sunday and he said, if you jump in front of the White House, I will sell anything to be there. I think he even meant body parts.
I think the proper place would be is in front of the White House.
Work for free.
Yeah, work for free. He says he'll come here, he'll sleep here, he'll do all the work.
Well, you know what? On this one, I would say Miller would design an awesome body wrap.
Oh yeah,
and we'll have Leonard's truck and trailer wrap the whole car
and a matching trailer.
Yep, Matt will design it.
We'll have to get a custom wrap for the ramp.
Yep,
so it looks nice.
Yep.
We're replacing all the wood this time.
Yeah, patriotic all the way.
Yeah,
America, the United States, red, white, and blue, all the way. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we're doing it for the country and for America.
Do you think there's enough room on Ellis Island to jump in front of the Statue of Liberty?
That's a water. That's a water landing.
Unless you use a barge.
Yeah, do some barges.
Yeah.
So Matt Miller is our graphics designer, and he wears a lot of hats too, and he works at Leonard Truck and Trailer, and they specialize in like trailers and stuff.
They're the
body wraps. Yeah, they're like
the largest trailer place around.
Yeah, so they would definitely be on board. Miller, he's a great graphics designer. Thank God we have him. And
Miller, come here.
Yeah, Miller, come here and say hi.
Say hi to the folks.
So he can design. I mean, everything. He's designed all of this stuff.
The shirt.
No. The shirt. The shirt was Danny. Bartholomew, Dan Bartholomew.
Oh, okay.
And Joey McCready Joey's my cousin down at MVP Mahoney Valley Printing.
Here, get right between us here.
Yeah, just come on over here.
Say hi in the microphone.
This is our graphics designer, Matt Miller Jr. He's been with me since 2005. Yeah.
Matt looks familiar.
Well, I also do the website.
We say
for Miller.
We say for Miller. Matt looks familiar.
Said you look familiar.
That is my name.
Yeah, for Miller.
For Miller. but yeah, Matt, he'll design a really nice wrap. They'll put it on where he works at Leonard's Truck and Trailer, and then we could do the jump. And listen, Glenn Beck was really serious about this, so
we're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna make it happen.
But Coach Isaac did raise a good point. We got to name it something, right? There's General Lee, the text on the side, the edge of the roof. We got to put something there.
Uncle Sam.
Traffic sounds good to me.
How about Uncle Sam?
Uncle Sam.
Well,
He just
General
said
General
America.
Washington.
General Washington.
Oh,
First
I,
president.
I brought up General Grant because many years ago, looking at different pictures of Chargers, I seen one that was done in blue with the American flag.
Yeah,
and on
you know that
rails, it
the
was
owner
General
of that car called me. He's like, Raymond, can I buy one of those aluminum General Lee push bars for the front of my General Grant? I should have said no, but no, but yeah, he polished it up real nice, and it looks. Really
Oh, he
cool.
left it
Yeah,
polished.
He polished it up.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's nice.
But
That's
yeah,
cool.
listen, we're all children of the late '60s and '70s and '80s, and in some cases, '90s for Tyler, right?
No,
Oh, you're 88 or 89? 89. Okay, we're just trying to keep those iconic TV shows and movies alive that we all grew up with. It wasn't racist in the 80s, and it's not racist now. The only thing that changed is people.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to add to Tyler, and I hope you can hear me clear enough, Tyler. I met you like 4 years ago, when we did the school bus job, and I saw something in you then, and I believe I said something to you then. Man, you're going to go places, and I'm very proud to see what has happened in the last few years.
Yep.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Tyler is awesome. Like I said, he wears many hats: cage builder, metal fabricator, and he's
Media
media person, you know, photographer,
Bus mechanic.
a good speaker. You know, Tyler was my Snap-on guy, and we were looking for somebody to narrate our stunt show, and I was like, Tyler, you have a really unique voice, and
He said, "Wow, you really have a face for radio."
yeah, and so that's how this started.
That is how it started. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back then, our stunt show, we were all manual. There was no automation. There was no pre-recorded anything. We had music tracks and we had microphones. So all of our actors were all mic'd up for every scene with cordless wireless mics, lapel mics, and the introduction of each scene so the audience can follow along and know what's going on, just like on the show, was read aloud live by a balladeer. And Thad, right? Thad was their previous balladeer. He sounded a lot like Willie Nelson, you know, and he wasn't able to make your show in Brookville
at the last minute.
Like 4 days before you had to leave. So I pulled up in my Snap-on truck. I'd known Ray for a couple months at that point, and got out, and he was just sitting in front of his shop. I think it was
Bill.
Oh, it was Bill. Yeah. And they were just hanging their heads. They're like, we don't know what to do. And I was like, hey guys, what's up? And Ray just looks over at Bill and says, Tyler's got kind of a nice voice. Would you be opposed to reading out loud in front of like 12,000 people?
That was 2013.
Yeah, 2013.
2013.
So I said, yeah, sure, I'll go for it. You know, I like reading. I like reading aloud and stuff. And
since then, we
snowballed
been
from there.
Everywhere between Daytona Beach, Florida, all the way up to the UP, Escanaba, Michigan.
Yep. Moncton, Canada.
Out of the country in Canada. And
we need to go to Texas.
And look at this. You know, can you believe this has happened?
You sold tools.
Racist. I love racing.
What was that? What was that, Paul?
I said you kind of did it backwards. You sold tools, then you became the mechanic.
Well, it was like a roller coaster ride because I was a mechanic, and then my Snap-on guy said, hey, they're hiring for this other thing, and I became a tool guy, and then I went back to working on stuff.
Yeah, Lee Morgan, we're all idiots at some point, and we're all connected to our passion of vehicles. Yeah, you're right, Lee.
Yep. Gearheads. We're all gearheads.
Lovely thing. Lovely.
So is the car any sort of drivable right now? Will it roll?
Absolutely.
The car was running when I landed. Did you hear me revving I was trying to stop.
It died on its own, though, because the key was still on.
I ran out of gas.
Oh, maybe.
Oh. No, because I was thinking Alaska, jumping off that cliff. I mean, it's too late now because it's tomorrow.
What do they call that?
Yeah, you wouldn't survive that one.
Yeah.
You just send the car after you're done with it.
They wedge the gas and they just send it off the cliff.
Just send it.
A couple of my buddies went up there for that.
Yep, the G8's going to get smashed.
Oh yeah, that's my buddy Adam. Yeah, the red
Yeah.
G8. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they've
Yeah, we know the
got
same
they've
people.
got a guide system.
Oh yeah,
that
you
where
know
they-
him too.
They've got a
Travis.
Yeah,
guide
so there's no
Travis is driving
safety
it.
gear or anything.
Go ahead, Vince.
So who
I was
hung
gonna
the
say that-
passenger side door? You know, the one that fell off.
I had that question.
What happened?
I can answer that.
What was the question?
Was that Jim or Van? Who was that?
That was
That
Jim.
was Jim.
Okay, it's a quick and easy answer. We get donated to us bed frame rails, right? Like literally to hold up your mattress. Okay, and those they come in droves. People know we use them for building these stunt cars and all kinds of stuff, and they just get dropped off all the time. The problem is they're a very high carbon steel, so when you weld them, the steel around the weld weakens.
It's brittle.
It gets very brittle.
Very
And what happened was the outer skin was welded to bed rail, and the weld broke off and went with the outer skin, and the material around the weld had completely cracked and allowed the door skin to come off. The frame, the bed frame, because we drilled and bolted it to the car, that was still there. And in fact, that's what Pat pulled the pins out of, and he was yanking on trying to get it off the side of the car. The door skin broke because of the metallurgy of the material. So I've been making this point for years that we should not use bed rails. And now that we're on national television with the door falling off as soon as the car hits the ground,
But
he's like, "Yeah, we should."
Here's the
use bed
thing:
rail before."
the door falling off, it does show how violent a landing can be. That's the only. I mean,
That was not intentional.
I would have rather
The door not
fall off, but it does show how violent the landing is. What do you think it did to human flesh and bones and tendons?
You were fine. We waved the green flag. I was there.
I was fine.
All right, Vince had a question.
No, I was just going to say the thing in Canada, they use a like a guide system where they tie the front end together and then they just basically mat it and drop it in gear, and that
Alaska.
way it aims it off the cliff there. Being a double nickel guy myself and watching the Joey Chitwood show when I was in my youth, what are you guys' inspiration?
My inspiration was solely the Dukes of Hazzard,
I've only seen one episode of the Dukes of Hazzard.
and I made him watch it.
Yeah.
Did you
Now,
see
to
the
be
movies?
fair, it was the Happy Birthday General Lee episode from season 7. Yep, season 7. And Raymond has this tendency to always correct people when they say 01 on the side of the car.
There wasn't a letter; it was a 0.
Yeah, and so he says it's a 01. Well, in the episode Happy Birthday General Lee, they roll the car out of the garage with its brand new orange coat of paint for the first time ever, canonically, right, timeline wise, in the story. And Daisy looks at the car and goes, "Oh, you even put the 01 on the
It
side."
was Cooter, it wasn't Daisy, so you're wrong.
Was it O or was it 0?
He said with that was it Daisy or
It's
or
Daisy.
No,
It's
no,
Daisy.
no, because I
We'll
remember
watch it
I
after-
remember
we'll
Bo I
watch it
remember
after
Bo
this.
saying it's number 1. That's right. We started out with nothing, and it's number 1 here all the way. It was
We'll wa-
Cooter. It was Cooter because with that 01 and that rebel flag, the proper name is generally, I think it was Cooter that said it, but he did say 01, but Cooter was wrong. He could replace an entire engine with a Phillips screwdriver.
That's true. He was an amazing guy. He went on to become a congressman.
That's right. He got beat by Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was very, very hot. I was really nervous. The amount of people I had to get to the jump car, and I'm sitting there trying to get through a herd of people. And I'm like, listen, you guys, I got to get through. And then I'm like, there's not going to be a jump if you don't let me through.
I was saying the same thing to the people that wouldn't move out of the safety
Yeah, I'm
areas.
like, I got to get out of here. I got to get suited up and whatnot. And we got to the car, and we were on a golf cart, and we were going. And there was like people on my left, people on the right, and they were just cheering and giving us thumbs up and screaming my name and stuff like that. We get in the car and stuff like that. And I remember on my way to the ramp, you got to focus on the ramp, but I kept just looking taking a peek at where I was at my speed.
Yeah.
And I seen 30, then 40, then I was like 50, right? So just when I looked and it said 50, that's when the car started to nose downhill a little bit right before the ramp. And then I just gunned it as much as I could and then hit the ramp, and all I seen was this big blue wall of water. And as soon as the car went through the water, I felt the nose drop, and I knew I was going to have a good landing.
Yep.
Sweet.
And it was over just in what they say from start to finish, 18 seconds,
something like that.
Yeah.
The whole FPV video from Bender saying go to him flying away after you're like got the guys at the car is only like 40 seconds long.
Yeah, I felt bad for Bender because
he got
stuck. Did somebody go back and get him?
I don't know.
So Bender is our lead. Everybody has a title. Bender is our lead mechanic, Robert Unger, but we call him Bender. So Bender, he's the one that always sends me off. He's sitting there and
he's got the radio.
He's got the radio. He's got my hand because it's just that little human touch. You got this, buddy. You got this, buddy. It's just one more. We're like Rocky and Mick. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends me off, but I was worried. I'm like, Bender, how are you going to get back down there and stuff? Bender, he's not young, and he had a double hip replacement, and I think I was more worried about Bender getting down there than I was about myself. And I remember telling somebody after I got out of the jump car, I'm like, somebody's got to go get Bender. Somebody's got to go Bender, and I don't know how Bender even got back, and I still don't know.
He made it.
Yeah, I sent him a picture today. And I had said, "Hey Bender, I just want you to know, buddy, that I love you." And this is me and Bender right before I took off in the jump cart. So he's the one that sends me off, and yeah, sometimes they can get pretty emotional. You don't want to see your buddies get beat up, and they all worry about me. Chris Roy says Jim went looking for Bender but couldn't find him. He couldn't find Bender mixed up with 42,000 people.
Ridiculous.
So when you went through the water, did you get wet?
Oh man,
did I get wet, Tyler? I didn't.
Listen,
Did you find a place where the shifter boot wasn't sealed?
I lathered up with soap. I was like, I'm going to get a free shower.
Yeah.
Right?
I asked him what the toilet bowl water tasted like.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of holes in the floor because we sink his seat down below the floor level. So he's got a skid pan under him, but there's a big gap all the way around. So I know for sure he got splashed, but it was so hot and you're in the middle of a street, right, getting strapped into a car. There's no way to keep him air conditioned. So what the guys were doing was they were taking cold bottles of water and dumping them over him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was basically in a scuba suit. He was completely soaked, and he probably did get splashed, but he was already.
There was water in the car. I remember slipping on it when I was getting out. Janet Zangara, runs our t-shirt tent, and her son is our pyrotech, Johnny. Those big explosions that go off when I jump, that's her boy that does that. She said Bender was with her at the tent, so that makes me feel better.
Yeah, he got back down to the tent.
Good.
So that's got to be a t-shirt. Where's Bender?
Where's Bender?
Yeah, right.
That's a good.
We've got a bunch of good t-shirts. All right, Paul.
Brian, I'll get a hold of you in about 2.5 weeks when I'm up there. Tyler, you know my number.
When you come through, Paul, when you come through Ohio, you should stop by.
I wasn't coming through Ohio, but you know what?
Maybe you should.
Actually, there's a good chance I'll be Pittsburgh, and you're close.
That's only an hour from here.
An hour and 40 minutes.
Yep.
So one more question on the car. On the original General Lee, they used to fill it with concrete to keep it level and flying. You did a pretty good job keeping the car. Do you have weight? Do you transport?
Yeah, so
or did you?
So
you know,
in the early days of the
Tyler, I'll call you when I'm up that way.
Good night.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
In the early days of the Dukes of Hazzard, yeah, they did weigh the trunk down with concrete. Then Tommy Sermeno, they started. I mean, they had the jumps dialed in really, really good. They used lead weights. They had like a box back there, and they put the lead weights in there, and they locked the box and secured it to the car. We use just the concrete and stuff, and we do put a certain amount of weight in the trunk to keep it to where,
because we want a little bit of nose down, but not
much. And,
not much.
And if you go too nose heavy, that weight in the back will literally work against you and throw the car over.
Yeah.
So it is a delicate process. You know, you do have to use mathematical equations and stuff like that.
We also add extra springs to the rear to give the rear of the car more lift, right? So it's counterproductive, right? You're weighing the back of the car to keep the nose from going over too fast, but then we want more spring off the ramp to get the height, and it's complicated.
We've been doing it for years, so yeah.
No, I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, are interested in that stuff, and they ask, you know, or they don't really understand. They, you know, like there was a comment here, you know, they see somebody, you know, they see it on TV jump, and they think to get out, and they all walk around and get back in the car and drive it again. I mean, people are stupid.
Yeah, that's
right. You can't just get in a car and jump it. The car has to be prepared for that.
Yeah,
you know, many moons ago, I did this in the Mustang. I did my Dukes of Hazzard jumped and went 47 feet. And when it came down, the shock went through the hood, you know, when I landed. So I learned then that TV isn't really all that glamorous.
Right. You know, a lot of people don't know this, you know, because we get a lot of, oh, dude, he broke his back. Oh, the spine left the chat. You know, I get all these broken back comments.
Did the driver live?
You know, he's going to feel that, you know, just all kinds of nonsense. But a lot of people don't know. I'm not even sitting on the seat. I'm dangling with high density bungee cords. And I'm a good, 8 to 6 inches off of the seat, Tyler.
Yeah.
They do what we call
fist plus.
We do the tank check.
It's his favorite part.
Where I love it. It's where they take their fist when I'm up off of the seat, and they try to go between my rear end and the bottom of the seat to see how much room that I have between the two.
Just like the medical profession, there is no shame in stunt driving.
There is none.
Would a mid-engine work better? So we hear that a lot. Why don't you build a chassis that can survive the jump and be reusable and all that? The problem is you have to completely redesign the entire car. And that's what you would have to do. You'd have to run a mid-engine. You'd have to be sitting right in front of the engine so that the car is much more balanced naturally. And you see that with like stadium trucks, a lot of the big motorsports guys that do a lot of air, and they have suspension that's custom built for that. Could we build something like that? Probably.
Money and stuff. Here's the thing.
Would it cost $200,000? Also probably.
We are traditionalists, and we want to keep doing what they did on the Dukes of Hazzard. And that's how we pay homage to them. We do it the way they did it. They did it old school.
With a little bit of modern safety.
People want to see the destruction. They really do. They don't want to see the generally go from ramp to ramp. They don't want to see the generally go from a ramp and then hit it and rebound and keep. They don't want to see that. They want to see the.
If you ever see those stunt shows where they go ramp to ramp and they can reuse the car and on all that stuff, they do that like 6 or 7 times because that's the only way it's entertaining if they keep doing it over and over in front of you. We do one jump, it lasts 4.5 seconds, and people won't stop talking about it.
High energy jumps. So I hit that. I hit that ramp at 50. Listen, we could have hit it faster, like 72 at the Mopar ads. Over 30 feet high, 217 feet long. So we know what we can do with speed.
You wouldn't have hit the ground until that intersection.
Yeah. So, you know, this was a controlled stunt. It was an obstacle jump, not a distance jump. I held that record for the longest generally jump in front of a live audience. So you know,
not every jump has to be
not
a record
everybody. Yeah,
attempt.
small venues require small jumps. That's what I always say.
Yep.
I was surprised to see at the very end of the street that people were at the end
I
of the
couldn't
street.
believe the amount of people that was down at that, and I couldn't believe it.
So I was track boss, and I was the one kind of tasked with making sure that everybody was going to be safe. And that whole landing area was pushing the bounds of what I was comfortable with. We did a double row of barriers down at the bottom in case he slid that far. And those two barriers had like 20 some feet between them. So if he hit the first barrier and punted it, it was going to slide into more concrete instead of, just going flying into the crowd. Those people, there was no, it would have taken us an hour to get those people vacated. There was no way we were getting them all out of there. So what I did is I made them as safe as they could be. And I pulled extra volunteers from other places and put them down there. And I said, if one person crosses this line, this yellow shirt is going to wave at me and I'm going to call the jump off. And it worked for the most part. People were filling up the little runway area where the EMS were parked with the safety gear and all that stuff. And I 3 times I cleared that place out. And finally, the third time it stuck because I went over there and I looked and I looked this like 6-year-old boy right in the eyes. And I said, "Are you a firefighter or a paramedic?" And he's like, "No." And I said, "Then you don't belong here. This is where my safety crew stands." And his whole family was like, "Yes, sir." And they got out of there, right?
The track boss is mean.
Yeah. Listen, I'll be as mean as I have to be to keep people safe, safe and alive.
Safety is our number one.
There was another section where people were literally using the concrete barriers as seats, and I said, absolutely not. So then I come back. I had to do like the circuit, right? And I come back 10 minutes later, which is another 10 minutes closer to the jump, and they're not on the barriers, but they're like right behind them with chairs on the sidewalk. And I was like, no, that doesn't fly. Like, if he hits this barrier right in front of you, it's going to jump 3 feet back and you're going to the hospital. And I turned and looked to the next person. I said, you're going to the hospital, all this stuff. And finally, I shouted, not mean, just facts to the crowd. And I said, listen, you can't be here because if he hits this barrier, concrete's going to fly. You're going to get an eye put out. All this stuff. And so finally, they did start listening, and that's when I cleared us for go. But yeah, it was
like I was saying, this shows you how stupid people are.
Just misinformed. I think I wouldn't. They didn't realize the amount of kinetic energy, right? And because of the downhill slope of that road in your landing area, a lot of people assumed that he was going to land on that downhill road and be fine, right? Most people did not expect you to actually crunch the car.
Right.
And we find that all the time. So many people are like, "Oh, it was a driver error."
That's what really happened.
Error.
Yeah, that's what really happened on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
That's
all the time
part where they cut to commercial, and then when they come back, they're in a new car.
Yeah. So a lot of people were surprised that the car was actually smashed. They don't realize that that's what's going to happen. And I just started telling the crowd what was going to happen. And the same thing for the bailout run. We had no bailout run for Ray. If he doesn't have enough speed when he gets headed to the ramp to safely clear the jump, then he has to be able to bail out somewhere. And there was no space. So I had to make that happen.
Bye-bye fountain.
Yeah, bye-bye fountain or whatever, bye-bye Ray. So I had to make sure that his bailout run was clear. And the crowd, there was nowhere for the people in front to go, right? We're 30 people deep, 40, 50 people deep, and there was just nowhere for the front people to go, no room. So I started shouting at the people in the back, and I said, listen, if he doesn't make enough speed to clear this ramp, he has to go somewhere, and that is right where the people in the front are standing. Y'all need to be back further. And I ended up, I compromised on my safety margins more than I really wanted to, but 40, 42, 43,000 people when they were expecting 20.
Yeah.
It was insane.
They said it was the largest gathering in the history of the town.
Yeah, not just for the car show, for the town, like concerts, whatever,
and bicentennials, and
yeah.
A big orange car.
Yeah,
made
That's great.
It's not even a real Charger.
It's not even a real Charger. It's the wannabe Lee.
Yeah, the wannabe Lee. Wannabe Lee.
Hey, I wanted to take
fifth one?
6. Is it 6?
6.
I wanted to take a minute to say hi to my family at home, Tiffany and Tina, and my little grandson.
Why don't you just say hi when you get up there?
Where?
Up to the house. It's right up the road.
I just want to. My daughter worries about me. She wrote a little note in the car that says, "Dad, I want you to know I'm so proud of you, and I love you. You're my best friend, and you can do it," and stuff like that. We have a really, really strong bond, and it really tears her up, doesn't it, Tyler?
You can hear her on a lot of the videos.
A lot of the videos, you can hear her screaming.
Yeah.
If you hear a scream, that's coming from my daughter, Tiffany.
Yep.
She's got a badass Panther Pink Dodge Challenger. It's awesome. She's a Mopar girl now.
Yeah. I liked her better when she had a red Camaro.
I didn't like her at all. But seriously, I was honored that they chose me to do this. I don't think there was anybody else that could pull this off. In fact, there was a video of 2 women sitting. They were talking about what's going to be happening in Somerset this year, and she said, "Listen, we're going to jump the General Lee." And they're like, "Are you serious?" Yeah. There's a company out there. They're veteran stunt guys, and they've been doing this, and this is going to be like their 30th jump, and they're going to jump the General Lee. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it. So there's a reason for that. That is a testament of how safe we are and how professional we are.
Yep.
100%.
All
of us together, we make a good team. We really do. I couldn't have did it without my crew. I say it all the time. I have the best crew in the world. I'm just the guy in the car. We had to build the car. We had to set the ramps. We had to do.
And that's another reason I turned into such a monster on jump day. Because the first few shows I went to, everyone was always bugging you about the littlest stuff. So I just finally started telling the guys, like, listen, if you can't decide for yourself, you come to me.
Yeah.
And I'll decide. And if it's a serious issue that needs a major decision, I'll approach
You got to think how scared I am. You don't know how these things, they could go bad quick.
Well, I mean, you're stressing over everything.
Right. And I this is one of my biggest pet peeves. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
I roll up my sleeves, right? And what do they do? They roll it down. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I'm like, stop touching me.
Like a cat.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to be touched. No touching on jump day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Except for the taint check.
Except for the taint check.
Hey, Tyler. So when you were talking about moving the crowd back and stuff, do you have a bullhorn with you that you're hollering out?
I wish.
That would have been nice.
Yeah. No, I just used my big old boy lungs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I also wanted to ask Ray. So about a year or two ago, I think it was before the Canada jump, Lewis made a stop at the shop while we were on Lewis and Terry while we were on this show, and they were showing some of the stuff of the car and what you guys were putting it together, and they showed some of your bungee setup for the driver's seat. Can you explain for the viewers a little bit on how that works? That when you land, I mean, you've talked about the taint check and stuff. Do you actually touch the seat when you land at all? Like barely brush the seat, or how all does that work?
Okay, so that was the Mopar Nats 2 jump car. That was the record-breaking jump. In that one, yes, I did hit the seat, and it didn't feel good. So I had a bruised tailbone for a long time. I don't know if you guys ever fell down and bruised your tailbone, but let me tell you, it's not a good feeling, and it takes forever for it to heal, if it heals at all. Once you bruise it, it's never right again.
I'm still suffering 40 years later.
Yeah, like I said, once you bruise it, it's never the same again.
Correct.
So we drop the seat down just to where it's above the bottom of the frame, and then we do use a skid plate underneath there to protect any type of debris to come in that could hit me. So we drop it. I have a Beard suspension seat. that we have. It's not like a suspension where it's on shocks or anything. It just it looks like a spoon. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not like flat or beveled or anything. It's beveled, but beveled down like a spoon. So that gives you more room. Now my helmet, when I wear a jump vest, this jump vest is so tight you can't breathe. They buckle it shut, and you have to hang from your torso, and it's got D rings up at the shoulders, and I'm hanging with the bungee cords, 3 on each. We went this time, right? And there is literally about this much room between my rear end and the bottom of the seat. I have a 5-point harness. My 5-point keeps me from going up too high, and then the other 4 belts hold me back to the seat. I wear a high density neck collar, mouthpiece, shin guards, a flame suit, elbow pads.
Supposed to wear gloves.
I don't wear gloves, Dad. I don't wear them. It's too hot for gloves. I'm claustrophobic, and so I have the helmet with a specialized head restraint that we use. I've never had a neck injury. 31 jumps, never had a neck injury, and
came close at
a whole lot of yeah.
You ripped your head restraint.
A whole lot of courage goes along with that, but we have it dialed in pretty good. But when you land, if you're sitting on the seat and you land, your
spinal
back,
compression.
You got to think, when you have like a vertebrae that gets shattered, it launches little bits of bone into your spinal cord, and you can tear your spinal cord. Next thing you know, you're paralyzed and whatnot. And
then you have to join that guy on Nitro Circus. Does the ramp to ramp with his
wheelchair. Yeah, I don't want that to happen to me. So we think of the worst case scenario, and we try to be as safe as we can. Corey Eubanks, Ted Barba, Henry Kenji, the Baxley boys, Craig and Gary, even Jack Gill, they like invented all of this stuff. There's John Cade, they call him Jumpin' John Cade. He's the one that jumped generally the most on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Do you know how many times?
I don't know. Russell Solberg, all these legends, man. They paved the way for guys like me. Now,
and there was
unfortunately they didn't teach me. We had to figure this out on our own.
Yeah, and you have to remember too, there was some trial and error with those guys too, right?
Yeah.
Remember,
Corey was telling me that one time that he had taken a bunch of water bottles, emptied the water bottles out, and used those to set on.
Yeah,
didn't work.
Yeah. So one of the reasons they rotated through so many stunt guys on the show was because they do a big jump and they get all busted up.
Right. The first episode when Bo and Luke wasn't there and the new cousins came in, Coy and Vance, the opening, it showed a blue 73 satellite flying up over the Duke farm. It was a car driven by Ted Barba. And Ted was telling me, he was like, Raymond, we didn't have a good runway. We had to use nitrous to get the speed up. He said, I was in the car, and he says, I didn't feel comfortable because I felt like I was too close to the seat, and my head was already wedged up against the ceiling of the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And he landed flat and he broke his back, and there was no catch team to run up to him and say, are you okay? Are you okay? He gets out of the car, he leans up against the car, and he says, I'm hurt. Off to the hospital he went.
Yeah.
And
he probably did he ever jump again?
Paul Baxley, the second unit stunt director, the legend Paul Baxley, all right, let's get somebody else. Let's get the next stunt in,
Yeah. Did he ever jump again after that, or was that his last?
No, he continued to jump and stuff, but that's a healing process,
Yeah.
That's, and the thing is, the whiplash, these guys were, getting hurt left. Corey got flung out of a car. He broke his ribs or something like that, and his pay that day was $50.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. When we went to America's Got Talent for filming, and I got introduced to some Facebook groups for like stunt, Hollywood stunt people and stuff. and they really get treated kind of badly.
They do.
Yeah.
You know, you know how the best actor, the best this, the best that. When do we start seeing the best stunt people? This guy did an award or did a stunt, and he deserves an award. You know, when do we start seeing that? You know, I feel like
they're
we're
always
being used like cheap prostitutes. You know,
they always make sure to mention if the big star does their own stunts, though.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Yep. Well, man, I'll tell you what, we really appreciate you coming on tonight after all the big time interviews.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to make time for everybody, and probably you know, because we know Lewis personally. He's a dear friend, and
he's been here.
So he's been here, and he's been a fan of ours, and that's the reason why. Oh, Lewis wants us on the show. We're doing it. You know, we wasn't gonna let anybody stop us, but we love you, Lewis, and we thank you, and hopefully we can do something big together, you know, soon.
Oh yeah. Now I'm retired. My
now, Lewis, listen, I gotta tell you this. I gotta tell you this. I want you to get a hold of Mr. Warman, and we want to do a Graveyard Cars themed car, and we want to do a big jump for the season finale of Graveyard Cars. Make it happen, buddy.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Wouldn't it? Between you and Mike Gray of Automotive Direct, we can convince. You know what? Speaking of Graveyard Cars, they shared the Bandit jump the week that we.
Oh, that's right.
Did you see that, Lewis?
Yeah.
It went viral.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh, that poor Trans Am. What do they care? This is a Mopar Facebook page." You know, so just to piss everybody off, I said, "Listen, don't worry. No Trans Ams were hurt at all.
It was just a Firebird.
This was a 69 Hemi Charger that we cut apart and we put Trans Am panels on it."
Yeah. That's great.
Wait,
so
where are you at?
If you want to check out Northeast Ohio Dukes, go to their website, .com
Facebook,
or .net.
YouTube,
check them out. And we appreciate everybody in the chat coming to see us. And we do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. So make sure
all you have to do is put in Fountain Generally Jump, and it's all over the place.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. And
thanks, Lewis.
Thank you, Lewis.
Thanks, fellas.